Hello, and welcome to an adventure like no other. Far more than what you have known, there is something far more to be known than you can ever know. And it is all about you, the real you, your real awareness with your intuitive senses. You were never taught that the real you, your real awareness, is operating 5 bodies in cause and effect, restricting creation. You have been taught to think that you are only a one-dimensional human person, with a mind and emotions, and with a very short lifespan on this planet Earth. More than what your mind can grasp is your intuitive senses that can be opened to see beyond all your restrictions. You have always had an opening to see beyond what you have known, and this has been purposely kept from you, and this is where you have heard rumors and stories about your nightly dreams. Your so-called dreams is your opening to your intuitive senses that will allow you, the personal you, to excel beyond what you have previously known. Everyone has intuitive senses, and very few people take advantage of what is possible by recognizing something more than their mind can understand. Creation has its place for all of us, and then there is all life, which is far more than anything than what can become with creation. Everything we experience is necessary for us to survive with whatever we choose and decide our life to be. New Kevin Smith is the great witness to something more than what can be taught and learned in any school. It can be so that when anyone first listens to Kevin's intuitive side experiences, also known as real side experiences, from what their personal mind has known, Kevin's manner of expression will at first be rather different to comprehend. This is where this introduction and reading the new books and Facebook groups will help. Have fun deciding. Dwayne the Great Writer and Seer.
In this real side experience, I would find myself initially in the back garden of my former UK house. The creational simulators that are necessary to provide the comparisons by which the all-is can be recognized will each be affected from a particular overall consciousness. The consciousness will be the equivalent of a file of data by which made available is each simulator's basic template layout. That just like the computer games we elect to indulge in, we download the game's template to our computer, and the computer affords the mechanics by which the data of the game can be rendered as graphics on the screen. The same principles apply in the creational simulators, where it is the consciousness that stores the simulator's template data, the ideas it comprises of, and effected also from a consciousness will be body forms, which, much like the computers, have the facilities to decode these ideas into a simulation that can then be experienced by awareness through the body forms. A more apt analogy would be virtual reality headsets, programmed with the game, the simulator, and awareness then views through the headset apparatus the experience of the simulator selected. And now, each awareness operating within the same simulator overall stadium will either create and generate additional ideas via the body vehicle mechanics, or agree with the ideas as created by others. Either way, each individual now is creating their own effected, simulated experiences based on what they decide, create, and agree with within the overall simulator arena. Initially, real awareness is directly animating through the body forms, but at a certain point, so the ability to free will generate ideas becomes so that as we create through the body vehicles the thoughts and emotions, we momentarily step into the effects of isolated parts of the isness everything. For the moment we create, we are removed into the effects of that which cannot be the everything isness position, as within the true reality there can be nothing in isolation, that as we create, we remove ourselves from the real awareness nowness position and into the now formulated secondary personal self. This then affords a comparison, the ideas as made possible to create and experience the isolated effects of through the body form vehicles in relation to the nowness everything real awareness position aside from all ideas, when we cease the creating and generating of ideas, that eventually recognition of this isness everything reality can be accomplished. What is in actuality the real purpose and function of the created simulators? What tends to happen is the personal self is overindulged, our free will creating takes predominance, the real awareness everything position somewhat disregarded and ultimately forgotten, and we now go through our lifetimes and body forms immersed totally as the personal self. As the personal self is effectively the consciousness, the creation taking on a life of its own, we then are fully embracing and in utter agreement with the consciousness in its idea entirety. For everything we have experienced can only be so through the ideas as created or agreed with, consciousness installed, and then simulation effected, and now, as we are completely locked into the consciousness, we agree and cling to every idea it thus contains. We are the complete effect of its entirety. Each lifetime around, we will be afforded a new body form with a new memory vehicle absent of all previous lifetimes of experience, as these prior lifetime experiential references have been transferred to as though the backup filing system, the subconscious, the bulk of the consciousness then, the subconscious part, we will be unconscious of as to the idea agreements it contains, but we still are the effects of the entirety of the consciousness, regardless of being consciously aware of every idea it comprises of or not. The moment will come then, whereas the real awareness decides to recognize the ears, so necessary is it to re-establish a contact with its creation, the secondary personal self, to align the personal self with the real intent, that is the recognition of the true reality, to begin a comparative process between what is creational and what is, and additionally to face the entirety of the consciousness and systematically release attachment to every idea it comprises of. For as we hold to ideas, we are their effects, and we only can experience isolated idea pieces of the isness everything within a creation where these ideas can be segregated from the whole through the body forms, and to be fully extracted from the necessity of a creation, we need to be in a complete indifference to every idea of it, that we can stand as the beings of real awareness light we all actually are. On the real side, our recreated houses symbolically represent this consciousness we have constructed, and much that takes place within our real side homes reveal the attachments and agreements we have, that which is featuring within them, and indeed where the ideas present themselves reveals as to if we are conscious of them or not. The storage and less used areas of the house tend to represent ideas we are unconscious of, such as the attic, the basement, closets and so forth, as indeed is the back garden, which generally represents the subconscious. As I said, this real side experience began in the back garden, the subconscious, and impressions revealed I was unveiling and bringing to light agreements and attachments in regards to specifically demonic body forms, which are essentially just another expression of a body type awareness animates through, but generally through life choices more along the abrasive and destructive lines, as we always are the effects of ourselves, our consciousness design, reflected in equal measure to our abrasiveness, will be dismal creational positioning and distortion of a body type. The demonic forms would be one such example, generally dwelling in the lower astral, the most forbidding area of creation. As I said, every experience we have had in the simulator, and including the presence of every expression of a body form, can only be so through the ideas that effect such, being consciousness installed. And as we then embrace fully with the consciousness, in utter agreement to it, until we do begin our processes of consciousness facing and releasing, we hold to every idea that is every body form we ever had effected as a shared experience in regards to. And evidently at some stage I once would be operating creationally in affiliation or in a conjunction with these various demonic body forms, and now was electing to sever the subconscious agreements pertaining to them, hence my presence in the back garden. When we face these ideas, we will experience them on the real side, and in regards to the body forms, we will have to handle however they choose to react to our confronting of them, and with the demonic body forms, expected will be antagonism of the highest order, as is their general consciousness proclivity. And so it was, that as I faced these subconscious agreements and attachments in regards to the general demonic body form, I would be bringing them from the subconscious areas to conscious consideration. Symbolically, they would be unearthed from the back garden and now featuring on the ground floor of my consciousness representing house, the position of the house where that which we are conscious of through the personal self will be operating within. It seemed that present on the ground floor also would be a group of individuals that, although my personal self couldn't visually identify, were those on their respective processes of awareness. Evidently those I had conscious agreements with, that allowed they could feature in my consciousness house and on the ground floor, but their arrival had coincided with my idea facing and releasing of the demon body forms, also present on the same floor, and the demons, although operating in more apparitional forms, would lunge at these individuals and rather take possession of the body forms of a number of them. The ability to possess, to take varying levels of control of the body forms of others, is an ability as developed by such beings as entities, and including demons, but as everything that transpires between individuals is dependent on agreement, quite clearly some of these individuals, all human in appearance, had agreements present in their respective consciousnesses which allowed this possession to take place by whatever means and mechanisms such agreements had been secured. The room soon descended into a bedlam. Some of those possessed were writhing on the floor, some flying around the room. Those not possessed were bewildered as to what action to take. As much as we create our experiences, and in regards to what roles others can assume within them, as we each are the deciders of our simulated realities, and in relation to the impact, if at all, others can have upon them, just as through idea agreements could the demons possess certain of the humans in the house, according to the humans' agreements can others also positively intervene in their affairs. These humans then had chosen in reality to experience possession. The demons had eagerly stepped into this afforded role, but the humans also had extended agreements where I could extricate them from their decided situation, and I would do so. I would, as though, draw the demons from their human hosts, take them all into my own body form. They would attempt to all simultaneously possess me, but I would hold them as though trapped within myself, and complete what had been my objective, that of releasing attachment to the ideas that they were, and one by one they would dissipate and fade from my house, and the formerly possessed humans would shortly recover their wits. As it transpired, this situation would be the inception for an assignment in regards to the expression of a body form that was the demon. For it is so that as humanity always have been controlled and subject to domination by the dark forces in all their expressions, the human consciousness is of a design where agreements effect as the ability for these circumstances in relation to the dark forces to be so, agreements which will incorporate all manner of ill-intended body types in association. For as we agree with an individual, we agree with their consciousness construct, including the idea agreements in relation to others it contains. If I agree with the dark force character, I am agreeing with the ideas that are their intentionality also, and I will accordingly experience the nature of what their intent happens to be, generally domination and control of some kind. Additionally, will I be agreeing with all the body forms the dark force character has agreements with, as they will be consciousness installed within the dark force character's consciousness I have agreed with. I will be taking on the effect experiences of the intentionalities of all those in affiliation with the dark force character, as through those we agree with, so others can piggyback into our experiences also. As I said, agreement with the reptilian dark force controllers and humanity agree with all the ill-intended body types in association, including such forms as entities, demons, and so forth, and their respective consciousnesses of general inclination to be destructive. And all these various abrasively operating forms will be having the destructive impact they will, physical level or other dimensionally, on humanity as a species. That such body types as demons will be progressively distorting overall human consciousness, along with maintaining them as a slave species through the perpetuation of agreement to the dark forces through the various means this is accomplished. Our objective then was to effectively remove specifically this demonic taint and infusion from humanity's consciousness. For although every being has the free will right to create and make the choices they will, always they will meet the effects of themselves in equal measure, and in regards to the abrasive karma as created by the demonic body forms, so rather than allow a cause and effect to process as it will, but the demons exact their carnage along the way, so this karma can be managed where such body forms can be displaced, their ability to impose on others nullified. For we can't in reality do anything to the demons unless they agree that we can, but effectively they have afforded us the ability to displace or remove them from the effects they have self-generated. We can assume the roles as the delivery mechanism for karmic backlash that nullifies them. For now, the group of humans and myself would be inserting ourselves throughout human history at every point and moment where the various demonic body forms were adversely impacting. As I said, they only could impact as the idea agreements pertaining to them allowed. So it was a case of us removing the idea agreements and cancelling out the demon's influence throughout the overall timeline that was the human experience. For indeed, every idea as affecting into every moment, age and era of every species is present in the nowness of the real awareness, isness, everything position. The real awareness has access to every idea then, and can insert a simulated form into any time period of any species. For it is only from the perspective of the idea processing mechanics of the body forms that certain ideas are in effect at any particular moment, and the effects previously experienced as contained in memory would be considered the past, the effects yet to become manifested the future. The personal self-body form perspective will always be at a certain point in the movie. The real awareness position is the movie in its entirety, and should ideas be altered at a certain point of the movie, so affected will be an altogether different movie being rolled out, that from the personal, physical level body form perspective, the group and myself would be going back in time throughout human history and erasing all ideas pertaining to the demonic body form expression, that the human experience would then be altered and rippling through to the present moment would be an altogether different overall human consciousness, now absent of the distortion through the impact of the demons in all their various ill-intended persuasions. For there was a real side experience I shared weeks ago, where a group and myself would be introducing the year's references into human consciousness at stages of humanity's timeline construed as the past, and far earlier than where they had previously been provided, as only in recent moments, relatively speaking, has humanity been exposed to the true reality pertaining references. This effort would ripple through to the present as humanity overall far more receptive to the reality of the all is and their position within it as beings of real awareness light. This would be a similar endeavour then, that we were teasing out these distortion of ideas from human consciousness in regards to specifically demons and their influence and impact, that rippling through to the present would be now a human consciousness of a more advantageous construct in regards to the embracing of the real purpose, that of is recognition. Visually this presented as the group and myself entering the various moments throughout human history where demons were influxing on humanity's affairs through agreements extended to them that they could readily do so at any moment of their choosing, and where we presented as though exorcists, though absent of any religious idea affiliation. Instead of purging individuals of demonic possession, it was as though we were purging entire towns, cities, and we would be sharing the new you sound in addition everywhere, and indeed everywhen we travelled to, in essence introducing the new you sound into human consciousness far earlier, literally speaking, than humanity had received it, that being only in the last 15 years or so. That the taint that was the demon expression would be removed, they would be nullified, their karma managed in this way, and the new you afforded, that rippling through to the present would be an altogether more conducive human consciousness in regards to humanity's embracing of the reality of the all-is. And for every moment in human history we were inserted and carried out our demonic exercising, the removing of ideas that affected their ability to impact, we would provide as though a report or update of our progress to Dwayne, who would always be stationed in a building or other within whatever era and time period of human history we were in, and his attire would always be that which was appropriate to the age also. Our assignment was completed and met with overall success, and now we would confront a particularly powerful demon who would be operating within a church within one of the time periods we entered. This rather verified the religions as being one of the reptilian created ideas that through attachment and agreement to what was on the surface a seemingly beneficial concept, in reality so was this a mechanism among many by which humanity were retained as subjugated slaves. Agreement with a surface idea created by an ill-intended being, and agreement is secured to their consciousness inclination and intent as I mentioned. All that is controller provided on the one-dimensional physical level front within a slave species experience will be that which trolls agreement and maintains the slave species in their controlled circumstances. That the various religions and their places of worship are in actuality agreement gleaning constructions, and in affiliation with the various other ill-intended dark force affiliated body types, such as the demons. For this a powerful demon would regularly be present in churches and whatever else buildings of religious worship, featuring throughout human history, as would other demons globally, though unseen among the glassy-eyed, unconscious human devotees. That just as we had purged humanity's overall consciousness of the demon Distortion, this demon would be the last to be removed. We would do nothing but regard him as he suffered the effects of his abrasiveness. He would spontaneously ignite. The church he was stationed within would become as a blazing inferno also. We would watch on unharmed, as eventually all that remained was a pile of ash where the demon had stood, the church but a burned-out ruin. The powerful demon then, having met the effects of himself, had also been removed from the ability to impact humanity. His taint removed from humanity's consciousness, along with all his demonic brethren, and there the experience would end.